My mom pinched the bridge of her nose when I told her Danielle had assaulted me. I felt the floor disappear beneath me. She said, "You're a woman now. These things happen." That's when I stopped believing anyone would save me. 10 months later, Danielle is on the offender registry. And my mom, who told me to move on, watches KSBS dig into every decision she ever made. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. When high school bullies isolated me, I cried to my cousin Daniel. He was kind older and made me laugh. His late-night advice made me feel seen for the first time. I wore my first real smile in years. What I didn't know then that moment would lead to the worst night of my life, my 16th birthday. He earned my trust before he destroyed it. He gave me a necklace for my birthday, silver, delicate, with a tiny S charm. I wore it everywhere. He said it meant I was part of his world now. That night, he stayed late after everyone left. Said he needed to talk. He brought out wine. I didn't think twice. That necklace, I buried it under the oak tree the next morning. It still makes my skin crawl just thinking about it. I clung to normalcy, school, homework, pretending, but Daniel acted like nothing happened. He'd ruffle my hair, wink, call me special. My hands would shake. I avoided him, locked my door, slept with earbuds in. Mom thought I was being moody. Dad barely noticed. Every time I saw that necklace in my drawer, I wanted to scream. I couldn't breathe in that house, but I had nowhere else to go. I was 16 and completely trapped. Daniel started texting me at night, creepy stuff, like how I looked when I cried. I blocked him. He made new accounts. I told Mom, shaking, showing her the messages. She told me to stop exaggerating and focus on school. I begged her. She said, "Don't start drama." I stopped trying. Taylor, a classmate, noticed I flinched when someone brushed my shoulder. She asked if I was okay. I lied. I didn't know how to ask for help. I tried journaling to make sense of things, but Daniel found it, left a note inside. "Cute thoughts. Keep writing." I ripped out every page, heart pounding. Mom shrugged it off. "Maybe you dropped it." I stopped journaling. I stopped eating. I failed 2 quizzes. Teachers asked what was wrong. I said I was tired. Taylor started walking with me between classes. Her kindness hurt. I didn't deserve it. I was just trying to disappear and survive. Daniel told our relatives I was acting out, drinking, sneaking out, being fast. Suddenly ants were whispering at dinners. Mom glared at me like I'd ruined our name. I stayed silent. Taylor invited me to a support group her cousin attended. I didn't go, not yet, but the flyer stayed in my backpack. Daniel smirked whenever he passed me, like he knew no one would believe me. I cried into my pillow every night, silently begging for escape. Taylor saw me crying in the bathroom. She didn't ask questions, just handed me tissues and said, "You don't have to tell me, but I'm here." That cracked something. I whispered, "It's my cousin." Her eyes softened. She didn't press. Later, she gave me the group's number. I stared at it for days. Then Daniel barged into my room while I was changing. I screamed. Mom yelled at me for overreacting. I knew then I had to act. I called the support group. Susan answered, gentle voice, no judgment. I cried for 5 minutes straight. She just listened. She believed me without asking for proof. I didn't tell Mom. I started going weekly, lying about tutoring. I met Jaime, a survivor like me. Her story was different, but the pain was familiar. We sat together, barely talking, but it felt like safety. For the first time, I wasn't alone. That flyer saved my life. One night, I left my phone recording and confronted Daniel. I asked why he touched me. He laughed, smug and sickening. "You liked it." I backed away, heart racing. He stepped closer. I shouted. He grabbed my wrist. I twisted free, sprinted outside, barefoot, sobbing. I ran to Taylor's house, still clutching the phone. The audio wasn't perfect, but it was real. My hands shook as she called Susan. It was time to report him for real. Susan called KSBS and Officer Mary Griffin. They came the next day. I played the recording. Mary's jaw tightened. She asked for more. I gave her the text screenshots. Everything I had. Mom stood behind me, arms crossed, face blank. Daniel tried to act innocent. Mary said, "We'll be in touch." That night, I heard yelling downstairs, Dad demanding the truth, Mom crying. I stayed in my room, gripping my notebook. I wasn't invisible anymore. They knew. Daniel packed a bag 2 days later. Mom said it was best for now. She still avoided eye contact. Dad apologized, said he believed me now, but it was late. KSBS opened a case. Sarah, the social worker, interviewed me gently. I told her everything. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. Jaime hugged me after group, whispering, "You're brave." The fear wasn't gone, but I'd survived the worst. My story wasn't over, but it was mine. I thought KSBS would help immediately, but Sarah said cases took time. Weeks passed. Daniel was still in town. One afternoon, I saw him at the grocery store. He smiled, waved. I froze. Taylor pulled me behind an aisle. "You're safe," she whispered, but I felt anything but. I asked Susan if he could still come near me. She helped me file a restraining order. I thought reporting him would end it. Turns out, it was just beginning. Daniel's lawyer claimed I made it up for attention. They brought up my school absences, said I was unstable. I wanted to scream. Susan helped me gather everything, texts, timestamps, even the old group attendance logs. Jaime testified, saying I confided in her before reporting. Taylor submitted a statement. Slowly, it turned. KSBS pushed forward. Daniel's smirk disappeared during the second hearing. He knew I had a case. I'd thought justice would feel like fireworks. It didn't. Instead, it felt like breathing after being underwater. Sarah said Daniel might not get jail, but he's be registered. That mattered. At group, Susan announced a new initiative, Survivors Helping Survivors with Evidence. I joined Jaime and I hosted a session. I read my journal aloud, voice steady. My mom came, sat in the back. She cried. I didn't comfort her, not yet. I weren't done healing, but I didn't look away. For once, I stood tall. The school counselor finally called me in. She'd heard from KSBS. "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" she asked. I laughed bitterly. "Would you have believed me?" She didn't answer, but she listened. I got excused from gym. Too many panic triggers and extensions for finals. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Taylor and I ate lunch outside together every day. When she said, "You're strong as hell," I almost believed her, almost, but it was growing. Someone spray-painted liar on our mailbox. Mom saw it first. She didn't blame me, just scrubbed it off. Tears in her eyes. Dad stayed up all night, watching the cameras. The police filed a report. Nothing came of it, but I stopped hiding. I wore my necklace again, not the old one, a new one Jaime gave me. A small phoenix. Taylor said it looked like freedom. I smiled. This wasn't shame anymore. It was survival. It was strength. Mom started going to therapy. She didn't say much, but she showed me the appointment card. I nodded small steps. Dad asked if I wanted to move. I said no, I wasn't running. Officer Griffin dropped by one evening just to check in. She said, "You're the reason 3 other girls came forward." My breath caught. I didn't cry, I just said good. Daniel's silence now felt like justice echoing. I weren't the only one anymore. Never again. Daniel pled guilty to a reduced charge. No jail, just probation, registry, and mandatory therapy. It felt like a slap. But Susan said, "He didn't win. You changed the game." Jaime brought cake to group. We sang. I didn't feel like celebrating, but I smiled anyway. Healing didn't mean justice looked how I wanted. It meant breathing, eating, sleeping again. It meant living. I wasn't whole. Not yet, but I was no longer broken. That was enough for now. At group, a girl named Lena shared her story. It mirrored mine, different details, same pain. After she whispered, "Your story gave me courage." I hugged her tight. Jaime winked across the room. Susan called us the light in a room full of shadow. I didn't argue. The darkness hadn't won. Not completely. Taylor gave me a journal with a phoenix on the cover. "New chapters only," she said. I started writing again. This time I wasn't afraid. I spoke at a school assembly. Just a few minutes. My voice trembled at first, but then it steadied. I didn't name Daniel. I did not need to. I spoke for the girls who hadn't found their voice yet. Afterward, a teacher cried. A freshman slipped me a note. Me too. I kept it in my wallet. Taylor hugged me backstage. My mom was in the crowd. She clapped slowly, but she clapped. That meant more than I expected. The day Daniel's name hit the registry, I stared at it online for an hour. It was real. It felt cold, hollow, and necessary. Taylor brought pizza. Jaime showed up with blankets. We watched movies, barely talking, just being together. I didn't sleep much, but I didn't cry either. That night, I dreamed of walking through fire and not burning. When I woke, I touched my phoenix necklace. I whispered, "He doesn't owe me." And I believed it. I volunteered at the support group's hotline. First shift, a girl called sobbing, said her uncle hurt her. I listened, told her she wasn't alone. Afterward, I sat in the break room shaking. Jaime found me. "You showed up," she said. That mattered. I didn't need to fix anyone. Just listen, just believe. Susan said, "Sometimes the bravest thing is holding space." I was learning how. My healing wasn't a straight line, but it had direction now forward. One morning, I found my old journal, pages torn, corners bent. I started flipping through, heart pounding. My handwriting looked younger, more scared. I stopped at one page. "No one believes me." I grabbed a pen, wrote underneath, "I do now." Then I burned it. Taylor and Jaime helped me toss it into a fur keep behind her house. We didn't say much, just watched it burn. Ashes swirled. I felt lighter. It was my past, not my prison. At therapy, my mom admitted she was scared of what Daniel did, of how she failed me. She cried, "I thought I was protecting you by pretending it wasn't real." I didn't forgive her that day, but I heard her. That mattered. Later, she brought home my favorite dessert. No words, just a gesture. Dad sat with me that night, asked how group was. I told him. He listened. That was new. That was something. We were trying. We hosted a community event, Survivor Art Night. I painted a shattered mirror glued back together, titled "It's Still Me." People stopped and stared. Some cried. One woman hugged me, whispering thanks. Taylor performed a poem. Jaime read a letter to her younger self. We weren't victims anymore. We were creators, speakers, warriors. I saw Sarah in the crowd, smiling. Susan nodded from the corner. Healing was loud that night, and messy and powerful, and unbelievably beautiful. Lena and I walked home after group, late spring air wrapping around us. She asked if it ever fully stops hurting. I said, "I don't know, but it stops controlling everything." She nodded. We laughed about bad cafeteria food, normal stuff. I hadn't laughed like that in ages. At home, Mom left a note on my bed. "I'm proud of you." I stared at it for a long time. Then I tucked it in my new journal. I spoke at a youth summit, closing remarks. Told my story, not the pain, the power. I said, "Your truth matters, even if no one believes it yet." After, teens lined up just to say thanks. I saw Jaime at the back, arms crossed. Grinning, Taylor clapped like I won a medal. My voice didn't shake. I stood on that stage and owned every second. Daniel didn't break me. My silence didn't define me. I chose my ending. I sat on my bed, journal open, necklace in hand. The phoenix shimmered in the light. I wrote, "I'm still here." That mattered. Taylor texted, "Proud of you." Jaime sent a selfie, us laughing. I smiled. I wasn't who I was before Daniel, but I wasn't broken. I survived, rebuilt, spoke. My voice, once silenced, now echoed in others. That was healing. That was power. That was mine. Taylor asked if I'd ever go back to who I was. I shook my head. "She's gone. But I like who's here now." I joined a self-defense class. Mom drives me sometimes. She doesn't talk much, but she shows up. That's enough. Dad reads books about trauma. We're all learning. I'm not waiting for perfect. I'm building safe. One breath, one word, one new truth at a time. Susan asked us to write one sentence to our past selves. I wrote, "You weren't crazies, you were right." I folded it into my old notebook, taped shut now. Not erased, but sealed. Lena painted a mural. Jaime cried while watching. I didn't. I just breathed. I wasn't hiding in pain anymore. I was living in strength. And every word I shared helped someone else speak. That made everything worth it. Daniel moved away. No one throws him parties. His name still shows up on the registry. My mom wrote a letter to Kespius, an apology, and thanks. Sarah read it aloud in group. We cried. Susan placed it in the center of the table. "This is change," she said. Taylor hugged me hard. Jaime high-fived me. We weren't just healing, we were reshaping our world. One voice at a time. And this time, everyone heard us. I organized a support group for teens, called it Phoenix Rising. First meeting, 6 girls showed up. We lit candles, shared names, no pressure, just space. I spoke last. "This is yours too." Afterward, Lena whispered, "You changed my life." I smiled. The phoenix charm rested on my chest. My story started in silence, but it ends in firelight and voices raised. I wasn't the girl who stayed quiet. I was the one who fought. And won. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.